Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here to present you my NBA morning shoot around for Wednesday, December 18th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't came and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel and Draftkings cash signups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for our DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So we got a solid 9-game slate today. It's good. I think it's going to be a pretty good slate. The thing that I'm having a little bit of trouble with is finding some value. But definitely we got some news we got to wait on that we'll get throughout the day. So this video is done a little bit earlier in the day. Make sure and continue checking out news and see what opens up as the day goes on. And that's just NBA. There's no way around it. You got to be on the news all day long, all the way up into lock. Things could change in a heartbeat with just one player out. But yeah, man, hey, we're gonna do our best to kind of navigate through this. There's definitely a bunch of plays that I am liking. So yeah, man, let's go real quick before we do though. If you guys don't mind, please take that quick second, click the like button down below. Helps me out. Really appreciate that from you guys. And yeah, so we'll start at point guard. We'll start at the top, man. You got Damian Lillard coming in at 8,700, going against his hometown team in the Golden State Warriors. I mean, they are in Portland, but hey, man, every time that he plays the Warriors, he definitely gets up for it. Now you got a depleted Warriors team. I think this is a great spot for Damian Lillard to have a really, really good game. And at the end of the day, 8,700 is just too cheap for Damian Lillard. All you need for value is about 44, and he definitely gives you 55 fantasy point upside in this matchup. So I think that Damian Lillard is a really good play. Then we'll go Kemba Walker. I like Kemba Walker. He's too cheap as well, 7,600 going against Dallas. We got him projected at almost 6x. I'm liking this whole Boston team going against Dallas without Doncic. I think that they can definitely win this game fairly easily. And I like him, man. Kemba Walker coming in 7,600, just too cheap. Ben Simmons, 8,000. I mean, he's too cheap as well. I mean, you need 40 for value. The guy's averaging almost 45 fantasy points on the season. Going against a Miami team who is a pretty good defensive team. Nonetheless, this is just too cheap, man. It's kind of a trend that I really found at point guard. Lillard, Walker, Simmons, they're all too cheap right now, price tag wise. I don't know who is doing this FanDuel price tags, but hey, they're too cheap. Even Chris Paul at 7,900, I think he's strictly a GPP play. But I think you can even throw Chris Paul in there at 7,900 going against a young Memphis team. He can definitely have his way as well. So, I'm not trying to just go with the first four guys that we have, as the highest projections, but they're all just too cheap. I mean, I think that at point guard, it's a spot you probably could go with the two of these guys. Kind of look at more of a balanced lineup approach and feel pretty comfortable because there is some price tags on this slate that definitely are questionable for me. A couple guys moving down though outside of these top guys. I like. We'll go first guy. Lonzo Ball at 5,400. I think Lonzo Ball is too cheap. Definitely I understand the production has been really up and down. Very, very understandable. But nonetheless, I still think that Lonzo Ball is still too cheap. We know he has 40 fantasy point upside and really could crush this price tag. So he's a guy that I'm looking at kind of down a little bit. Kobe White's another guy I'm looking at 4,000. I think that he's a pretty good play on this slate. Going against the Washington team, we like targeting Washington. We know they don't play no defense. Very up-tempo game right here, Washington versus Chicago. And this is a pretty good spot for Kobe White. He's been getting some extended run. And lastly, we know Doncic is probably going to be out. Jalen Brunson, the price tag is up a little bit, but at 6,000, I think that he's still a pretty good mid-tier play if he's going to get that start and get extended run with Doncic being out. Moving on to shooting guard, I'm going to start with Jimmy Butler, 9,100 going against Philadelphia. We know Jimmy Butler was traded to Philadelphia last year and, finished the season out there. And he's going to be looking at his old teammates and want to go hard, 9,100. He is probably a little bit more of a GPP play for me because of the price tag, but I still think he gives you a pretty solid floor. He's the best player on this team, and, he gets whatever shots he wants, and he does stuff in other categories outside of scoring. So I think Jimmy Butler is a really good play. Drew Holiday going against Minnesota, 8,200. Talk about a guy who just has a crazy usage rate. I think this is a fair price tag for him. You need right around 40 for him to get you value. He's averaging right around 40 right there. So I think that Drew Holiday is a really good play at 8,200. Moving down, a couple more guys. Andrew Wiggins at 7,800. He's strictly a GPP play, but Karl Anthony Towns is a game time decision. If Karl Anthony Towns did end up being out, I think that Andrew Wiggins would get a big time bump. That would be trying to run the offense through him, etc. He would have the ball more, and I think that he would get a bump. But either way, I think that he is in play. But as of right now, if Towns plays, he's the GPP. If Towns is out, I think he does get that bump, like I mentioned. Next, we'll go to Shane Gilgeous-Alexander, quietly having a really good season out there in OKC. Nobody's really talking about him, but the young guy's been playing very well. I liked him since he was with the Clippers. He's always definitely had upside. He was just kind of a little bit inconsistent this year. He's really starting to put it all together with the new team in OKC. He's getting the opportunity to be one of the main guys, and he's really been thriving this year. So at 6,100 price tag, I think he's a really good player right there. Then we'll go down a little bit, a couple more guys. I think that we can look at Josh Hart at 4,800. It's all about the minutes with him. We know when Josh Hart gets minutes, he definitely produces. In a matchup against Minnesota, I think that he's in a pretty good spot here at 4,800. He's a guy that we can look at kind of on the lower mid-tier. And then also, if we want to pay down a little bit, I think we can look at a guy like Duncan Robinson. The minutes have been there. He's been playing well for the most part. We got him projected just under 5X. I think that our projections are maybe a little bit low. I will give him a couple more fancy points right there. I think he'll get you right around 5X is what you're looking at with him. I don't know if the upside is there, but, if he's going to get us 5X and we can kind of move on, pay up elsewhere, definitely will take that price tag right there. Small forward, I'm going to start, me personally, I'm going to start with Brandon Ingram going against Minnesota. Ingram's having a career year so far out there in New Orleans. And, the thing about him is he fills up the stat sheet, does a little bit of everything. He also gets you some defensive stats. He's long, lengthy, gets steals, gets blocks. I think this is a really good spot here going against Andrew Wiggins, a guy that's really not known for defense, more for offense. Brandon Ingram's a guy that I'll definitely start with at 8,400 at the small forward spot. Then I'm going to go with Tobias Harris going against Miami. He's just Mr. Consistent. He's going to get you close to double digit. He can get you close to double-digit rebounds nightly. He's going to score 15 to 20 points. Maybe get you a couple assists, occasional steal block. I like him in this spot. This game against Philadelphia and Miami should be very competitive. And I think it's going to come down to the wire. Tobias Harris should be in the mix and have a pretty solid game there. Moving down, a couple guys I like. I'll combine them: Gordon Hayward and Jaylen Brown. Both of these guys for Boston, I think that they're both in pretty good spots. I probably would give the nod a little bit to Jaylen Brown. He's just been very consistent on the season with his play. Gordon Hayward, though, he's a guy that they really want to get involved. He's definitely going to get the opportunities. And then, we got Jason Tatum. He is a game-time decision right now. If Jason Tatum was to be out, all these Boston guys, Brown, Hayward, even, Kemba Walker, they would all get bumps if Tatum was to be out. So it's something that we got to kind of wait and see there. But nonetheless, I definitely like some of these Boston guys for sure. And then a couple value guys I think we can look at. I think we can look at Finney Smith at 4,200. We got him projected at 5.3x. 4,200. We got him projected at 22 fantasy points. Like I said, 5.3x. We always want to get at least 5x with our guys for cash games. I definitely think Finney Smith is a guy that we can continue to look at a pretty cheap price tag. And, I think he gives us a little bit of upside. Next, Joshua Okogie at 4,100. He hasn't been getting the crazy minutes that we want, but he's getting consistent minutes. We need 20 for value. He's a guy that definitely can fill up the stat sheet pretty quickly, play some defense as well. So I think he's a GBP play, but he's a guy that we can look at to pay down for if we're looking for some value at small forward. And like I said, there's a lot of guys that are game time decisions that, there is some value that may open up. I'm just trying to find some right now if that value doesn't open up. Going to power forward, like I said, Jason Tatum is a game-time decision. If he plays, though, I think that he is in play. I think he's a pretty good play against Dallas. But if he's out, like I said, the other Boston guys are going to get a bump there. Outside of Jason Tatum, I think that we can look at, Kevin Love, I think is a pretty cheap price tag. Draymond Green at 6,900. I think that you can look at him against Portland. Pretty good price. Marketing is a guy I haven't really talked about too much this season, but 6,300 is just too cheap for marketing. The guy, I mean, he gets 10 plus shots a game. He double upside any night against Washington in a very up-tempo game. I think it's a very good spot for marketing. Bertans on the flip side of things going against Chicago. Bertans is the guy that's been standing out for Washington, getting his opportunity, and he's been running with it. He's been playing very, very well. So I think that marketing and Bertans are both pretty good mid-tier plays. Then we'll look at some value. We got to wait on the Drummond, the Griffin news. If they end up being out, Christian Wood is a guy that we can look at. He'll get extended run, and the guy can definitely fill up the stat sheet quickly. So we got to wait on that news out there in Detroit. So Wood is a good value play. Another guy I like, I think we can look at Tice. We've been playing Tice, all year long, and it's like he hasn't been doing nothing special, but he has been very consistent. We got to project it at almost 6x, which is it's a crazy good value on this price tag at only 4,300. He's a really good power forward number 2. And lastly, a guy that I think we can look at GPP play, but Jeremiah Grant, I think he's a guy that we can look at 4,100. I mean, the minutes have not necessarily been there for him. That's been the problem. But, I mean, when he does get minutes, he definitely, plays defense, can fill up the stat sheet pretty quickly. He's a guy that we can look at on the cheaper end as well. We'll finish it up with center. I mean, we talked about Karl-Anthony Towns, game time decision. If he does play, I mean, this is a spot where he can absolutely crush. They're going to put a young guy, Jackson Hayes, on him, and he can absolutely dominate that matchup. The guy, Jackson Hayes, is underpriced, and this would be a good spot if Towns does play. If Towns is out, like I said, we can look at a guy like Dieng possibly at center as a good value play. And I talked about Wiggins kind of getting a bump if Anthony was to be out. Joel Embiid against Miami. It's not the best spot, but I mean, Joel Embiid, 9,400, he's cheap. He definitely is cheap. We got to project it at over 5x, and I think that he is in a pretty good spot here. Going against Miami, I definitely really, really like this price tag on him. Moving down a little bit, a couple more guys. I think that we can look at Wendell Carter. He is a game-time decision if he does play, though. I like him in this game against Washington. Should be a track meet, up-and-down game. Washington doesn't really have a real center that can guard Wendell Carter. The guy's been having a pretty good season. So I think he's a guy we can consider as a GPP play. Cody Zeller going against Cleveland. 5.4 price tag. I think it's a pretty cheap price tag. We got it projected at 28 for a 5.2 value. I think he's a guy that we can look at in the mid-tier. And then lastly, I think we could continue to look at Mahimi. Mahimi's getting a bulk load of minutes and 4,300. We got it projected at 23 fantasy points at 5.3x. Once again, I think he is a good play on this slate, and we can look to kind of pay down for him if that's the way you want to go at center. So that's really where I'm at with today's slate. You want a more in-depth analysis, make sure you check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, good luck on our guys' contest, all right? Peace out.